With all this stuff going on in the world, people are looking for budget decks they can play, whether it's in locals or remote duels, or maybe with your close friends. You're just looking for a fun, competitive deck that you can play with them. So I'm going to be giving you guys a budget Rocket deck. And before I get into the deck profile itself, I want to make a disclaimer that I'm not playing a lot of the staples. I kind of cut all of the staples out and put more of the engine or the archetype in this deck so that you can kind of fill in the blanks rather than to kind of worry about getting these staples. So I put more copies of a card in the deck that usually would be at one or two. So you can kind of fill in the blanks when you finally get those type of staple cards like Ash and Imperm and all these other stuff that are kind of expensive. So let's get into the deck profile. I am playing 3 of the Rocket Tracer, 3 of the Rocket Silver. I know a lot of people play this at 2. Again, this is, more copies because I don't play staples. And then we play the 3 of the Absolute Dragon, another card that you play at 2 usually, but in a deck where you don't have any hand traps or any of these other staples, you kind of just boost the, consistency of this deck of having rockets in your hand. When you don't have all of these cards that are staples in your deck, you kind of just want to focus on consistency more because you kind of want to play with your deck. You don't want to kind of driddle down your consistency with stuff like, if you're not playing Impermanence, you're probably playing like, Fiendish Chain or something like that. That's not really good. You just want to focus on kind of building your consistency, and that is why I boosted up the Silver Rocket and the Absolute Dragon, because the Absolute Dragon is an extender that's just really good. Even if it's like a 2 of, it's really good for a 3 of, and then the Silver Rocket Dragon is really good for summoning off of the Boot Sector launch. So that is why I boosted up the 3. That is it for the, really good rockets. And then for the more, kind of removal type of, utility rockets, we have the 3 Magna Rocket, also is a 2 of in the deck, but I boosted up to 3. Then we have the 2 of the Recharger, also really good. The Rocket being able to, pop a card on the field. And then you have the Recharger, which is really good for reviving those destroyed dragons. And then we have the 1 Rocket, Metal Rocket Dragon, which is just really good for getting rid of back row. Because we don't have all these staples as I said before, you kind of want to have these utility cards to kind of get rid of, problematic cards. Maybe it's like Mystic Mine or, all these other cards that are just kind of problematic in the format. And then we are running 3 Safer. I know this is one of the most expensive cards in this deck. You kind of do need it, but you can kind of, run, 2 or maybe even 1 if you really are, on a budget. But I think this is like one of the most important cards, and you should probably max out on it if you can. And then we play the 1 black and the 1 white. These are just really good, being able to search them out with the Safer or with another card that is in the deck that I'll get into in a bit, but they're just really good for extenders. Then for the other extenders, we have the Nocto Vision, which is just really good for chain blocking and for getting that body on the board for dragons. And then we have the 1 Darkness Metal that was errated. And then we have the 1 Black Metal, which is also really good for searching out that Black Metal. You can, bump up the Metal Dragon to 3 if you want to cut some of the dragon cards in the deck, like the Silver Rocket or the Absolute Dragon. It's totally up to you and which you think is like really good, but this is just like a standard list that you can kind of base off of. You could just bump the Black Metal to 3 because it's just a really good card for just making that combo because it's just a 1 card combo. And then for the other dragons that we play in the deck, or dragons, so sorry for my language, Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, which is really good. Another kind of a semi-expensive, I think $5. It's not that expensive, but it's just like a really good card for removing cards off the field and can hand loop from your opponent. And can also special summon a monster from the hand. So its utility is just so good to have in the deck, be searchable by something that is Brotar. Brotar really good for just searching out cards like Chaos Dragon and Legionnaire. And then you have the 1 hand trap that you are playing in the deck. You don't really need it, but it is Phantasme. It is good for, shuffling cards back into your deck and getting those bricks out of your hand. Or getting to those cards that you need, like Rocket Tracer, the Black Metal that is really good, and, other cards that are just really good in this deck. So, That is it for the monsters. I don't know how many monsters. It's like 24 or something like that. And then for the spells, we play the 3 quick launch. Quick launch is the best spell in this deck, honestly, because it gets to your Rocket Tracer or any of your rockets in the deck. Then we play the 2 World Legacy Guard Dragon. Got reprinted in the Megaton, so it's like, $2 or $3. It's not that cheap, or it's not that expensive now. So it's a really good extender. It really helps you with the Guard Dragon combos. I know, LP might get banned, next ban list, but it's still like a really good card just for extender purposes. And then we played the 2 Chaos Zone, also being able to search not only the Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, but the Black and White Dragon. You can bump this up to 3, honestly. It's like a couple of dollars. It's not expensive, but it does add up when you have all of these, $3 or $2 cards. Yeah, it just adds up and it makes the deck more expensive. I just wanted to, clarify that. And then for the Rocket Field spell, we play 2 of that because it is really, really good for getting out your rockets out of your hand for more extender plays. And then we have the 1 Dragon Ravine, which has been cut from a lot of decks. It's not as good as the, Dragunity Lance, which gets out the Dragunity Phalanx, but Phalanx is kind of like a little bit expensive as well as the Lance, so I didn't want to, put it in the deck because it would just make this deck more expensive. Like, as I said before, you kind of want to make this deck a lot cheaper than, a more competitive deck. So Ravine, it's decent. It gets your Absoluter into the graveyard so you can search your Tracer, so that is really good. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as people say it is. And then you have the 1 Foolish and 1 Shrine, which is also really good cards just to get the Absoluter or even the Brotar to the graveyard. And then for the extra deck, it's very, very, very simple. I think it's card for card from the YCS that we had at the team YCS Las Vegas. The 3 Striker Dragon, honestly, the best card in this deck, being able to, get to your Boot Sector launch, get these rockets back in your hand so you can summon your Boot Sector. So you can summon your monsters from Boot Sector launch. Then we have the 2 Guard Dragons, which is Guard Dragon LP and Pisty, which is just really nice. Play with LP while it lasts because it's probably getting banned next list. And then we played the 1 Romulus, which is really good that it got reprinted because it was like a couple of dollars because of all the Dragunity hype. But now it's like 1 to 2, maybe even less than $1. Then for the rest of the Link monsters, we play the 1 Heraldic Seal. Really good for disruption. It's kind of one of the most expensive cards in this deck. If not, maybe even the most expensive. It's like $8 to $9. I'm pretty sure it's probably that high because of all the dragon hype. But it is a very important card. If anything, you probably get this card because it's just really good disruption. Then we have the Protector Whelp just for its arrows, not really to use its effect. Then we have the Quaboral Dragon being able to summon all the rockets from the graveyard. Then we have Dylan Jarrus Dragon, which is really good for climbing up into Boral Sword or your Unchained Abomination. Then we have the Triple Burst Dragon. It's really good. It comes up in a lot of situations like with Ray and stuff like that because we do have some striker plays in the format. But it's also really good for being able to have those 3 arrows so you can pop it with Quad Boral and then revive 3 rockets, which is pretty insane. Then we have the Unchained Abomination, which is just really, really good. It pops cards. It's just like, it's just that good. And then it has 3k attack, which is obviously really good for OTKs. Then we have Boral Sword Dragon. I know this card is really expensive. You don't really need to play it. You can replace it with like Unicorn or Phoenix or whatever. It's not that important, but it is a very good card. And it is a dragon that you can make. And it is also dark, so you can make it under Tracer. And then for the last 2 cards is the 2 Synchro Monsters. One is the one that got reprinted, which is Savage, which is really good. This card used to be like, I don't know, like $80, $70 in the USA. Thankfully, this card is like $10 or $12, whatever. It's one of the most important cards. And as I said, the Heraldic Seal is the most expensive card in this deck. This is probably the most expensive card in the deck that you really need. So if you have those $12, you probably want to spend it on the Savage rather than something like the Seal. But you kind of want both of those cards. And then we have the Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. This is one of the most underrated synchro monsters in the game. I cannot believe this card has some insane effects. Being able to banish a monster on the field or in the hand or anywhere that activates, and then it can pretty much be a Boral Sword. So you don't even need something like Boral Sword. You can just play Draco Berserker of 10E. You can make it with Rokket Tracer plus any of the other rockets, and you can OTK with this card because this card is just super, super insane. So that is it for the deck profile. I didn't want to really explain any of the Rokket cards because I want to link the video in the description, which is the Team YCS. I think it was top 4 with Manav and Shu Ping and Cody Angeloff. They kind of explain the deck more than I do, but I just wanted to give you guys a budget list so you can have something to kind of work on and kind of play with when you are playing in these remote duels or in locals or whatever. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick little video of this deck profile that I made. It's just a really solid deck, and it's really fun to play with, honestly. Even without all the needle fiber and hand looping type of stuff, it's just a really cool deck. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'm out. Peace.